food. Kathy Garrett, a regular here, says, can you give some examples of healthy breakfast? She hates eating breakfast and needs some good ideas.
Yes. This is really common too, both parts, right? Like, what do I eat for breakfast? And then also, I'm not really a breakfast person. For people who aren't breakfast people, one of the things that I think is so easy and quick is either you can get like a drinkable yogurt, and that's been a lot of my go-to for the mornings that I'm just not having much of an appetite in the morning, but I need something. A drinkable yogurt is really, really great. Or making a smoothie if you want to just throw some fruit, maybe like a spoonful of peanut butter into a blender with your favorite milk. You can get something that is really nutritious and adds a lot of nutrients for you without having to like sit down at a meal that can feel overwhelming, especially if you don't have an appetite. But training your body to get used to breakfast, you will eventually have an appetite for breakfast. You will be more interested in breakfast once your body gets used to it. It's kind of like our body gives us a lot of clues as to what it wants, but if we don't listen, our body's kind of eventually like, you know what? I'm not even gonna try. I'm not even gonna tell you I'm hungry because I've told you I'm hungry and nothing happens. So you lose your hunger cues. You lose these little signs of kind of what's going on. Kind of again tying it back to like salt. When you're used to a lot of salt in your diet and then you cut salt out, when you get salt back in, then you're like, whoa, that was salty. Whereas before, you may not have noticed it because your body was used to it. It got adapted and it was just didn't have that salty like spike of flavor, but later on you can notice it and your taste buds can change and adapt to what you're doing. So yeah, back to the ideas. So smoothies, drinkable yogurts are great. Even like some toast with avocado on it or peanut butter on it. I love chia pudding or overnight oats. I'm usually more of a savory person, and I'll do something like an egg or a tofu scramble with a lot of veggies because that's a great way to add vegetables in. But if I'm doing something that I just don't want to think too much about, or I just want to plan something kind of colder for all this hot weather we're having, then something like overnight oats or chia seed pudding is a really great option to me. And I even have, if you're interested, I have a free meal plan at plantpoweredkidneys.com. You can get a free meal plan, and it's all plant based recipes that will give you some inspiration on plant focused meals. So you can go ahead and take a look at that too.
Perfect. Now, Johnny has a question that is perfect for this time of year. He says, hello, James and Jen. Grilling season is upon us, but veggie burgers are loaded with sodium. And what are some good options that you can recommend to cook on the grill?
Yeah, I mean, there actually are a few that are pretty good. And this reminds me of some of the less friendly comments I've had on social media where I share something like, hey, here's an idea. And someone's like, that's too much sodium. Okay, remember what I talked about earlier with sodium. Okay, we still need sodium. So if you need about 2,000 milligrams of sodium per day, I'm gonna make math easier for me because I don't want to deal with calculator. 2,100 milligrams of sodium per day. That's 700 milligrams of sodium per meal. Now, you could do a little bit lower at breakfast, like some of the ideas I was just talking about, they're not going to be as high, especially if we're doing something like oatmeal or a smoothie. So, if you had a lower sodium breakfast, you can maybe nudge a little bit higher, maybe like 1,000 milligrams of sodium at your lunch or your grilling out meal. So, when I provide a recommendation of a veggie burger that's like 250 milligrams of sodium, that totally fits into the 700 to 1,000 milligrams of sodium for that meal. Okay. So the reason I say that is because there's some like Trader Joe's does have a great plant-based burger. I've posted some, it was probably a while ago by now because I post a lot on social media. And let me look them up really quick.
And
The
while you're
shortest
looking that up, I'm going to throw in one suggestion you gave me probably 5 or 6 years ago is taking radishes, and we do these on the grill. We slice them up. Don't cut them. You're just slicing them. So they kind of open up a little. Throw them inside some aluminum foil. We put some olive oil, some seasoning on there. We close it. Throw it on the grill while you're cooking your other stuff, corn on the cob, whatever else it is. And when those get done, nice and warm, They don't taste like radishes. I swear they taste like little baby potatoes. They are delicious.
Yeah.
I could eat those every single day. They're healthy. It's cheap to buy a bag of radishes. Now, for those that are, watching the news, wash all your vegetables, especially up here in Michigan. We've got a bit of a problem with the parasite and they're trying to figure out where it's coming from, but it is vegetables. So wash all your vegetables, but that's one of the things I always love to make out on the grill.
Yeah, yeah, that's I grilling veggies. I mean, that is just such a great staple. I did find my post, which tells me I probably should share it on Facebook and Instagram again soon. But some frozen veggie ideas. So we have Dr. Prager's California Veggie Burger. That's got 280 milligrams of sodium, so that one is very doable. Amy's Black Bean Veggie Burger. It's a little towards that higher side at 300 milligrams of sodium, but it still fits. Let's see. Garden Beef and Burger. That one's okay. 340 milligrams sodium. Trader Joe's, the quinoa cowboy veggie burger I talked about, that's 300 milligrams sodium. And then also we had Morningstar Farms is 280 milligrams sodium. So like the veggie burgers are going to be around that 300 milligram area, which again, it fits, especially when you're pairing it with other like low sodium foods, low sodium condiments. That's going to fit in well. Now, these all the ones that I talked about, at least last I checked, they didn't have phosphate additives. But the thing about companies with packaged foods is they can change their product at any point in time without any kind of warning. So even if you do find something that you're like, okay, this doesn't have phosphates in it, it is, if phosphorus is a concern. Again, if it's not a concern, if your blood levels are high, your body is managing it, you're doing okay. But if phosphorus is a concern, then periodically checking those labels is going to be really, really helpful to just kind of keep an eye on things and make sure that the packaged foods that you're getting are not contributing to the phosphorus in your blood. So that would be my biggest recommendation there. But there's definitely some great options. And again, keep in mind, sodium is something that we have an allowance for. So it's just how are you going to spend that allowance?
Very good. Yeah, and to think about it as an allowance. That is what really helped me when my dietitian told me. They said you have a daily sodium allowance, a daily this allowance, a daily that allowance. Pick the foods you want. If you really want, like if I wanted a pizza, she's like, okay, look at it. If it's got lots of meats on it, you're over your entire daily sodium allowance. You're not going to be able to eat anything the rest of the day. Is it worth it? But if you get something a little bit healthier, even if it's a pizza and it's got cheese, lower sodium, I can work a slice in and then just eat a lighter lunch and a lighter dinner. And I love that approach because that means I can eat anywhere I want. And if it's something that's high in something, I just have a little bit of it and I kind of compensate the rest of the day. Let's see. We got so many questions and people are, they love your book. Um, some people are talking, or one question was, do you consider these plant-based burgers high processed food or heavily processed food, ultra processed, I guess?
Yes, that is definitely a great point. And they are considered an ultra processed food. So this isn't something that you would want to have routinely. You wouldn't want to have a lot of it, but it could be an option of something if you wanted to stay plant focused, have lower protein, have more fiber. So there's oftentimes a trade-off, right? And a lot of the things when I talk about these packaged food recommendations is really want to focus on the reality of what people have and also making sure people understand that they do have a variety of options. Now, of course, I can say, hey, if you want to grill, then just make your own homemade black bean burgers, which is still very much an option. Very, very doable, but not everybody's going to want to take that time, the effort to make those. So I'm saying, okay, here's some options that are already done for you that can still fit into a kidney friendly meal. So we don't want to have a diet that is super high in ultra processed foods, meaning that they've gone through a lot of changes, a lot of mechanical manual changes to become what they are. So for example, like canned beans are minimally processed, but they're not ultra processed. Whereas a black bean burger that's frozen would be an ultra processed food. tofu, minimally processed, but let's say tofu meatballs or something, like some kind of frozen tofu dish, that would be ultra processed because it's using a lot of things to come together. So the more we can focus on plants and whole foods, that's amazing. But we also want to be real about what we have access to, or time and convenience, and just finding the best options of what we have.
Yeah, for me, the biggest challenge is the time to prep for a meal, especially during the
Mhm.
week if I'm busy with work.